important event of Mauritius India Business Forum. We have some delegates joining us here in person, and many of us are there with us virtually today. On behalf of FICCI, Mauritius Chamber of Commerce, and Economic Development Board of Mauritius, I welcome you to today's conference, India-Mauritius Business Forum. Today's program is being organized by FICCI in collaboration with MCCI and EDB Mauritius with the support of Indian High Commission in Port Louis. Dear delegates, India and Mauritius signed the Comprehensive Economic Cooperation and Partnership Agreement (CEPA), which came in force in April this year. India-Mauritius Business Forum will explore this new beginning of economic cooperation in the light of CEPA and also to understand how our businesses from India and Mauritius could jointly work in exploring the third market opportunities. With this little bit of introduction, I request Mr. Ganapathy, the member of our FICCI's National Executive Committee, esteemed member of FICCI's Africa Council, and chairman of Trigen Technologies, to come on the podium and deliver his welcome remarks. Mr. Ganapathy.
At the outset, a very good morning to all of you here and all of you who joined us virtually. Honorable Dr. Yusuf Ismail, Secretary General, the Mauritius Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Shri Janesh Kane, Deputy High Commissioner, Indian High Commission, Mauritius, Mr. Shakil Jalem, Director of the Mauritius Pavilion, Mr. Gupta, Member FICCI African Council, and CEO of Kukuza Project Development Corporation, fellow members of the Indian and Mauritian diaspora, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of FICCI and on my own, it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to this event and deliver the opening remarks at this Indo-Mauritius Business Forum, Trade and Investment Opportunities. In recent years, India has stepped up its engagement with Africa, specifically with Mauritius, which is an important trade partner of India in this region. During his visit to the country in 2015, Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi had flagged Mauritius' role as a key leader for a secure and sustainable future for the Indian Ocean. India and Mauritius are connected by shared history. Almost 68% of the population of the country, including Prime Minister Jagannath, is of Indian origin. Not just our past. I'm happy to tell you that our collaboration in the present and our partnership for the future are also growing more substantive with every passing day. As Mr. Gautam just mentioned, the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Cooperation Agreement between India and Mauritius came into force on 1 April. It is the first trade agreement that India has signed with any African country, which shows how special Mauritius is to us. FY20, India exported goods worth $662 million and imported commodities worth $28 million from Mauritius, which is below existing potential, but I feel that it can be substantially increased now if the opportunities of CECPA are fully utilized. Using the new framework under CECPA provides preferential access to some 300 products of interest to India, including tea, spices, beer, rum and spirits, special sugar, Ayurvedic products, plastic articles, iron and steel products, motor vehicle parts, furniture, amongst others. Also to a number of items like surgical equipment, medicine, and textile products that would cater to market requirements on both sides, to name a few. The agreement does not cover only trade in goods, it also provides for an appropriate platform to expand bilateral trade in services between Mauritius and India. Some of the key sectors include professional services, engineering, education, audiovisual, and logistics services. And therefore, this obviously opens up good opportunities for Indian institutions, both in educational and medical field, to set up their business in Mauritius and explore the African market. India has also announced a 100 million defense line of credit for Mauritius. This would enable the procurement of defense assets from India according to the requirements of the country, which was emerging as an important maritime entity in the Indo-Pacific region. Undoubtedly, CECPA will boost two-way trade in goods and services as well as investments, which is urgently needed to focus on post-pandemic economic recovery. Not only with Mauritius, the CECPA also marks a new step in the partnership between India and African continent. For the Indian industry, this joint economic initiative will enable to use Mauritius as a springboard for the expansion of their businesses into African continent and will help Mauritius emerge as a hub of Africa. Personally, I'm very excited about the tremendous opportunities CECPA offers to both Indian exporters and importers through this forum. I would like to urge the Indian industry members to take this opportunity and consider business and investment opportunity with Mauritius. Trigen's healthcare solution, and let me get a little personal about my own company. Trigen's healthcare solution allow client organizations to quickly operational improvements through the application of technology. Our solution with clients streamline the management and delivery of healthcare services. We are a proud partner in one of the largest vaccine programs in human history in partnership with an intergovernmental organization and the Government of India. Trigen developed a platform to manage the COVID-19 vaccine beneficiary registration, vaccination administration, and monitoring of the nation's billion people. Supporting our solution is our healthcare professional service team. Our healthcare team excels at quickly understanding the vision and the nuances of operations to deliver customized solutions on time and budget. Such in-depth technical know-how enables Trigen to replicate the model in similar geographies such as Africa. Our on-ground experience and well-tested concepts can rapidly implement the solution with minimal modifications. I thank Vicky for this opportunity and wish all of you good business and a pleasant experience visiting this absolutely marvelous expo. Stay well, stay safe. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. May I now request Mr. Janesh Kane, Deputy High Commissioner, Indian High Commission, Mauritius, who joins us virtually. Janesh, please.
Janesh, you are muted.
Janesh,
Hello,
please
can you
unmute.
hear me?
Yes, please. Carry on, please.
Yes. A very warm good morning to all of you. My hello from Mauritius. Actually, I was on leave, but when good friends from Fiji asked me to if I could join, I couldn't say no. And it's a very important initiative. It's a very timely initiative and something that the High Commission of India and the Government of India and the Ministry of External Affairs fully and wholeheartedly support. So I welcome all panelists and all members who have joined today's forum. I hope you will find it useful. I would just like to set the tone of the meeting. Being the Deputy High Commissioner, and also the commercial representative in this country. I would like to set the tone, both from the political perspective and the economic perspective, so to say. Uh, you will all be well aware of the fact that India and Mauritius share very close and strategic political partnership. And a relationship which is rooted in history, in commonalities of culture, languages, ways of life. So it's but natural that the two countries find it very each other's embrace quite comforting. But somehow it has been felt that while we have very close political ties with leaders from both sides traveling to each other's countries regularly, having engagements regularly, and having good personal chemistry. A little known fact is that all prime ministers and all presidents of India have been to Mauritius, and the other way around as well, which is a big achievement in its own self, shows how much political commitment on both sides there is. But somehow it has also felt that this political and cultural and historical connection and this deep emotional bond has not been transcended into the commercial field as much. And although India and Mauritius India is one of the biggest trading partners of Mauritius, among the top three in the last 15 years, year by year. And in many years, it has been the largest trading partner. But somehow this potential hasn't been completely realized. So therefore, I feel there is a need to work in this direction. And the SECPA, the Comprehensive Economic Cooperation and Partnership Agreement, is the right step in that direction. It has to be underlined and emphasized that this is the first trade agreement India has signed after a hiatus of more than 10 years. And the first one India has signed with any African country. Shows our commitment and our seriousness about Africa and above all towards Mauritius. There are new strategic changes which are available by signing SECPA, and also otherwise there are a lot of opportunities which we need to think and realize about. The first that comes to my mind right off the cuff is the pharmaceutical sector. You all would be aware that the government of Mauritius has reached out to the government of India and sought our assistance in setting up a pharma hub in Mauritius, which will service not just Mauritius, but also the continent of Africa. The idea was that, as India kickstarted the vaccination campaign in Mauritius by providing, first batches of vaccines for free and the later ones on commercial basis, it was felt that, if Mauritius could be a hub where, these vaccines could be produced. So it's up to the Indian industry to see the merits of this case. We feel that there are many. They can use Mauritius as a platform to produce for the African continent. And maybe the two governments can play a role, a constructive role. Government of Mauritius has come up with a lot of incentives, and they will be reaching out to the private players in India as well. I feel there is a need to look into this proposal seriously and see it not only as an opportunity for Mauritius, but to see it as an opportunity for greater African continent. Before I pitch forward about the whole concept of up to Africa, one must realize that Mauritius does not just represent Mauritius alone. It represents an opportunity in the entire African continent. Mauritius provides a stable political backdrop, predictable laws, a good financial center of repute, bilingual and skilled workforce, and they have natural connections both with Asia, as in Africa and as in India and China, and also with African countries. So Indian investors can think of Mauritius as a kind of a stepping stone towards African continent. Don't just think of Mauritius as being a small market, which does not attract as much. I feel one that concept in itself is I challenge the validity because I don't think Mauritius is a small market. Mauritius is a high income country with a very discerning set of buyers who want quality and have the money to spend to get that quality. So one, Mauritius itself is a big opportunity, and Mauritius beyond itself presents the opportunity of Africa. I will briefly talk about the retail sector. I'm told that the retail sector in Mauritius at a point of time was interested in getting Indian industry, but Indian industry felt that the market size is too small to invest into Mauritius. But if you come today and you see the number of malls in Mauritius, you would be surprised. And even in the lockdown and everything, these hypermarkets, these malls were all in profit, and they have done tremendously well. And they have shown that there's a lot of potential even in this amazing small country. And beyond Mauritius, of course, there's a continent of Africa, 1.3 billion people now, slated to become 2.6 billion by 2050. The chunk of growth, economic growth, is going to come in Africa. Their GDP size, which is roughly the same as India's at around 3 trillion right now, is slated to grow to 30 trillion by 2050, a 10-time growth. So these are potential areas where we need to capitalize and move early. And the early mover advantage would pay any early mover very handsomely. And if we partner with Mauritian experts, Mauritian business people, Mauritian friends, I feel they have more insight of Africa and they can help us. So that is something we really need to think about. Some small steps in that direction, I feel, for both sides that need to be done. I would talk about what Indian side could do and what Mauritian side could do. I feel that there's this opportunity of what Mauritius presents is not really known to a lot of Indian investors, Indian traders, and Indian professionals. I feel the Mauritian side, through EDB, I would request, or MCCI, or other government channels, or even the private players in Mauritius, please take this idea of being the hub to Africa and the opportunities that Mauritius presents to our people, to our business people, to our investors in India. Have roadshows, share the insight that you have with them, and I'm quite sure they'll be very, very interested in cashing on this opportunity. On the Indian side, I would say that there is immense potential in both in Mauritius and through Mauritius into Africa. I will enunciate a few ideas and place them in your mind for you to think about. They're small and big. I would say that Mauritians, they are highly skilled, very capable people. They have done exceedingly well in financial services and other services industries, and so has India. So we should partner in the fields of financial consulting, financial services, and also maybe see if there's a potential for IT services we can tap into by using the bilingual nature of the population and the natural inclination towards being good in financial services and IT services. Tap the potential of Mauritius and tap the market that Africa provides. Then there is opportunity, as I said, in pharma sector, which the government Mauritius has really very formally and very seriously taken up with our side. They are coming up with a pharma special economic zone within Mauritius itself. I would request Pharmaxel, FICCI, other important bodies of industry and commerce and industry in India and private players to seriously have a look into this thing. Then we should also think about warehousing and putting Indian goods on display. oftentimes what happens is that buyers here don't know what is the potential of India, the quality that we give. Maybe if we can set up a warehouse in the in the port area of Mauritius, where we can just put Indian goods on display and rotate them every few months, it will help a lot of Mauritian importers to know the potential of Indian industry, what we can produce at good quality and very reasonable price. And this kind of a warehouse where Indian goods are on display can also be very, very helpful for African buyers because they come to Mauritius. And when they come to Mauritius, they can always, see that, okay, this is what India is giving us, the quality. So they will also be encouraged. So don't see it only from the point of view of Mauritius. I would urge both sides to also explore the possibility of maybe having a special economic zone set up in Mauritius where Indian goods could be produced and they are given national treatment both in India and in Mauritius. And because Mauritius has such good trading arrangements with the entire African continent through SADC or COMESA or now the African Free Continental Trade Agreement, and also it has arrangements with US, China, Turkey, Pakistan, Europe, UK. We have to tap into the potential of all these trading agreements. If we add value here in Mauritius, we can export a lot of things at very reduced duties, or even in some cases duty free. So let's, in fact, most cases duty free. So let's tap this potential. It's a big, big potential which we are not realizing right now. Another big possibility is, Mauritius already through its Mauritius Africa Fund, which operates under the aegis of Economic Development Board, operates and is in a process of operationalizing 5 special economic zones in Africa itself. So these are in Cote d'Ivoire, in Senegal, in Ghana, in Madagascar, and in Kenya. Some of them are in inception stages, some of them are in more advanced stages, and they each have their own focus in terms of the goods that they want to export. I would request both EDB to promote this idea in India and also FICCI to encourage its members and others in India to seriously look into this possibility. If we can produce in these SEZs, we can assemble something in these SEZs, we can directly export the goods produced into African continent. And these are geographically all distributed all over the continent, and therefore there's a great advantage to be had. So while there's a lot I would have liked to say, because it's a issue which I've been directly dealing with over the last 2.5 years since I've been here. But I would stop here because I would want other people to also speak and share their ideas and have a meaningful conversation. But I really request the Indian side to look at Mauritius seriously. Don't think of it as a small country, as a small market. It is a misnomer. I mean, this is a huge potential. It's a huge opportunity we are sitting at. We have to look at Mauritius more seriously and with a greater intention and intent and commitment, and the rewards would be there. And Mauritius represents not just Mauritius, it represents the huge continent of Africa. So be, optimistic, be very, very enthusiastic about Mauritius. Put your commitment here, put your hard work here, you will get the rewards. And the High Commission of India in Mauritius and the Ministry of External Affairs is there to support you throughout this process. And I can assure you that in EDB, in MCCI, and in Government of Mauritius, you will find willing partners who would help you every step of the way. Mauritius is 13th, ranked 13 in ease of doing business, and they are very, very good. I can tell you I've had personal interaction with EDB and MCCI and other bodies. They're extremely, extremely professional and very capable and very committed. So with those words, I thank the organizers to give me this platform. Sorry, I'm not as formally dressed because I was on leave on holiday, but I could not have missed this. So it's my good fortune to be able to present myself here today. And I wish everyone a good.
Janesh, we lost you. I mean, thank you, Janesh. Thank you very much, sparing your time in spite of you being on leave. And that was a very comprehensive speech by you, giving the potentials of India-Mauritius future engagements. I now turn on to our institutional partner, Mauritius Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We have Dr. Yusuf Ismail, the Secretary General, to make his remarks, followed by his presentation on business opportunities of SEPA. Dr. Yusuf Ismail, good to see you, Dr. Sab, and we miss you here.
I know indeed, and thank you, Alok. A great morning and namaste to all of you, being either online, but also being physical. I know as much as you know this is a priority, but we have some urgent matter to attend in Mauritius at the moment. My good friend Janesh Kane, the Deputy High Com of India in Mauritius, Mr. Shakil Jalim, the Director of Mauritian Pavilion, Mr. Paritosh Gupta, the member of FICCI Africa Council and CEO, Kukuza Project Development Corporation, Mr. Ganapati Ramachandran, Chairman of Trigen Technologies, members were Mr. Gautam Ghosh, Senior Director of FICCI, members of the Indian diaspora and Mauritian diaspora in Dubai, members of FICCI online and physically present, and all the members of MCCI. Ladies and gentlemen, a great morning to all of you. Like I said to you, I present my apologies for not being present. I know it's an important milestone that we are covering today. We have worked tirelessly for the last, almost 17 years to make this happen. Remind you the discussion on SEPA started in 2003 and finalized in 2021. So it's a pleasure to be among you in the context of this function. Maybe from the outset, the message I have is very clear, especially when I look at the theme on the Dubai Expo 2020. The theme is very clear. It says connecting minds. I think this is a message that we have on behalf of MCCI. And how do we create the future? This is extremely important in our thinking and the way we proceed with the discussion going forward. So how do we connect minds? How do we connect the countries? How do we connect businesses? But how do we connect our minds and create the future? But if we were to look at the three important sub-theme of the actual Dubai Expo, it's about mobility, it's about sustainability, and it's about opportunity. I think these three words, as much as the overall philosophy of the Dubai Expo, is an important message for all of us present today, because this is what we have to do as operators, as members, creating our own destiny, but also creating our own future. In the margin of the Expo, which is another big event, which is also taking place, namely, we have the 12th World Chamber Congress organized by the ICC, and the World Chambers, the Federation, and the Dubai Chamber of Commerce and Industry. The World Congress is the only global forum for chambers, leaders, and business members to share best practices, exchange insight, develop networks, address the latest business issues, and discover new ideas of innovation and connecting minds for our own future. So taking into account the presence of many operators and business people in Dubai and in India and also in Mauritius, the MCCI, EDB, and FICCI find it extremely important to seize this opportunity to organize this important forum in order to present the opportunities offered by both countries and beyond. Let me just remind you of some of these statistics that we have. We already have over 1,000 Indian companies present on the island, either doing businesses in Mauritius, but also doing cross-border. I think that number is significant, but we want to increase that to a much more significant numbers of having more Indian businesses doing business in Mauritius, but also through Mauritius. As you're aware, the MCCI has developed and strengthened its relationship with the Indian private sector for almost 30 years. But for the last 172 years, we had a lot of trade relation between India. MCCI has been started in 1850, and with the purpose of connecting trade, connecting people, and MCCI has been very instrumental in the trade in the past over 172 years. But in the last 30 years, we have further strengthened by signing an agreement in 1985 with FICCI. So it's an important signature that we have. And and also with the CRI in 1995. And it is through this important agreement that we have signed with these two important partners of MCCI that today we are witnessing the implementation of SEPA. I think without this, I don't think we'll have SEPA in place. So I thank all the team that has worked previously and also the government to make this a reality. So we have witnessed in the past these years the strengthening of our relationship between the two countries. And we are glad to see that the government of both countries have now signed this agreement, the SEPA agreement between Mauritius and India, with the objective to bring relation between the two countries to a next level. A major recommendation has been made by both parties to involve business organization. I think that is extremely important. Government has done its work. I think now involving the business organization from both countries to consult each other on issues which could be raised at SEPA level in terms of business facilitation, in terms of legal issues, in terms of branding, in terms of connecting businesses. I think the ball is in our court for us to make it happen as much as government has done its work for it to happen. As a private sector organization, we wish to express our satisfaction regarding the involvement of the private sector of both countries in this process. This bears testimony of the views of the business communities are given due attention. At our level, we are working closely with our counterparts in India so as to identify issues and make strong proposals and inputs. I know the Deputy High Com has come up with some a list of areas where we can discuss, but discussions are held at the Joint Business Council, and FICCI and India and CI have a Joint Business Council which we have revived. It has been dormant for a while. We're reviving this Business Council. We have our partners from Mauritian side, and we wish to have more partners from the FICCI for us to discuss and make it happen. The JBC meetings are appropriate platform and discussion so we can lobby our government, lobby our legal aspect, lobby our institution, create awareness so we can make things happen in terms of exploring business opportunities, solving the problems that will arise going forward in the short term, but also in the long term. But also for finding ways to foster business platform is also important as it helps to bring the 4 issues that needs to be addressed urgently so that the obstacle are removed the sooner so that trade is facilitated. Trade and economic exchanges between India and Mauritius are vital for the economic relation, but also in terms of the economic cooperation for the region and beyond. More bilateral trade between the two countries will also create further opportunities to export to third market countries. I know UAE is in discussion with Mauritius to have an FTA. So again, these are opportunities that we can explore in terms of both countries and beyond. And we can use Mauritius as a hub for Africa and Asia. Later in my presentation, I will highlight that although we are a small nation, we have 2.5 million kilometers of sea, marine area, but we have, through a lot of trade agreement that we have signed with India, China, Africa, which has been signed this year, with the UK, the US, and Turkey, the potential world market is over 75% of the world population. That is a key figure for you to remember, that the market size, potential market size, is over 75% of the world market. And this is where the Indian business community will benefit from these different markets. But also I must highlight that we have been a extremely strong player in the global business, where things happen in India through the global investment that has happened to offshore, that has happened in India. As much as we're talking about malls being happening in Mauritius, but a lot of malls, a lot of green projects has been financed through Mauritius. I think that engagement, that relationship, that experience that we have has made it happen. So the HICOM has said earlier, we need to get things happen very quickly. We need to connect our mind. We need to connect ideas, and it's up to us to create the future. And I think the HICOM made some concrete recommendation which we have to follow. We're also contemplating to make a delegation from MCCI to India very soon, again, to create the awareness. I think it's good to have this agreement, but what is key is to look at the opportunities, the creation of the awareness, and also sensitizing business communities that Mauritius is not just a destination for sea and making in Bollywood movies, but it is beyond that. So I'm confident that this business event will open avenues for both countries, operators from both countries, diasporas in Dubai, Mauritius, and India and beyond. And on behalf of the board of MCCI and on behalf of the chairman of MCCI and the members, we would look for further collaboration, and the game, as we say, only begins now. So that is my opening remark. I will now shift, Alok, if that's okay, to move on the quick presentation that I will go in terms of the SEPA agreement. Is that Alok? I'll leave the floor back to you.
Dr. Ismail, you have the rights to share the presentation from your side.
Okay, thank you. I will take a few seconds to connect. Can everyone see me physically and through video conferencing the slides which I'm projecting on the screen? Mr. Alok, can you see the slides?
No, not yet.
Not as yet, Dr. Ismail.
Now, can we bear with me? We'll just take a few seconds to.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, the slides.
Yeah. Something is. Yeah, we can see now.
You can see the screen. Yeah. So the title of my presentation is on uncovering business opportunities in Mauritius and beyond. So first of all, just a quick history of MCCI. We were created in 1850 to look at arbitration issues, to facilitate trade in the decades of the British administration. And we were created almost 20 years before the London Chamber of Commerce. And since 1965, we have rebranded in terms of the Chamber of Commerce of MCCI. And today we are representative of the private sector in Mauritius. We are very, very active in terms of business facilitation, in terms of arbitration, in terms of education, and also a key actor in the public-private sector dialogue, and also in terms of the socio-economic development of the country. So we are also founding members of many associations in the region. Mauritius is a founding member of the SADC Business Council, where we are actively present. I think this is a message for all of you to bear in mind, because we are connected heavily on the India and on the SADC Business Council, as much as We're also a founding member of the COMESA Business Council, regrouping all the COMESA countries. And I think many Indian companies don't know the market in the Indian Ocean. So we're also a founding member of CAP Business in Indian Ocean, which groups all the Chamber of Commerce in the Indian Ocean, including Madagascar, Comor, Seychelles, Reunion Island as well, and Mauritius. So we're very active in terms of connecting businesses in the region, and that is a great opportunity of why we should continue this dialogue, because you will have access through us in terms of the regional businesses, in terms of the SADC, and also through COMESA Business Council. I would like for us to ponder a few seconds on the market size of Mauritius. Why is it important? Because if you look at this slide, it summarizes all the trade agreement that we have signed in terms of free movement of goods and services, in terms of quota. Each of them have their own specificity. So this year, the trade agreement with China has came into force in January, looking at almost 8,500 product line and services that can be exported from Mauritius to China, duty-free and quota-free. We also have an agreement, a PTA with Pakistan. We have an active trade agreement with Turkey. We are in negotiation now with UAE to have a trade agreement. We're also working closely with Indonesia to have a trade agreement. As much as we have an agreement, again, effective since January, which is the African Continental Free Agreement, having access to all the 54 countries in Africa in terms of products, of goods and services. We also have an EU Economic Partnership Agreement with the EU, and also an Economic Partnership Agreement with the UK, and also the AGOA with the US. And if you look at this world map, and I didn't put the CAP in Business Ocean, Indian Ocean. If I were to add this together, look at the market size that we have for Indian companies to use Mauritius to access these trade agreements. I think this is, if all of you are very busy, this is one of the slides I want you to remember. My takeaway message is to look at the market access that we have throughout the world. So I think it's key. I'm not going to dwell too much on this, but I think it's important to see the ecosystem of these agreement and how we partner with India and Indian businesses to exploit, but also to explore these opportunities to make our own future and our own destiny. I think it has been said in terms of trade between India and Mauritius, already in favor of India. In terms of us importing from India, we import mainly rice, petroleum products, gas and oil, HFOs and petrol, pharmaceutical products, cotton yarn for the textile industry, and also petroleum products. We also export into India mainly medical appliances, ferrous appliances, waste metal, waste and scrap metals, flour, meals, pellet of meals, copper waste, and aluminum waste scrap. It's mainly in the scrap market because we cannot recycle this product here. But that is not sufficient. I think for both countries, more can be done looking at this trade fact sheet going forward. I think we need to look at how we can use Mauritius to get more products through Mauritius, but also beyond, and also increase the trade between the two countries. Now, let me just focus on the important theme of today, which is the Comprehensive Economic Cooperation Partnership Agreement, which has been signed and effective. It covers a couple of areas. Just to give you a timeline, FICCI and CII since 2003 has been in discussion to make SEPA a reality. And discussion started in 2016. It was signed in February 2021 and effective from the 1st of April 2021. And at some point with the HICOM and MCCI and EDB, we wanted to have an official launch, but the pandemic issue is prevailing. Hasn't happened, but I would hope that very soon, with the Indian HICOM and EDB and MCCI, we can have this important sensitization campaign on SEPA. So the main feature of SEPA, for those who may not be aware of SEPA, is the agreement covering trades in goods, trades in services, clause that looks at discussion on outstanding issues and chapters, because it is not complete, so it has happened, but there's still some areas that we need to look at. There's an important chapter on the general economic cooperation to be completed within 2 years. There's the aspect of arbitration in that, and also dispute resolution, where companies having disputes, especially companies in India, partnering companies in the region, but also in Africa or China or other parts of the world, can use Mauritius as a platform for their dispute resolution. And the main feature also look at market access issues, which I'm going to elaborate a bit more. Let me first of all look at the SEPA structure. First of all, on the SEPA structure, on the aspect of trade of goods, we have an area on the preferential market access. I'll put a link at the end of my presentation so you can consult the big document, over 400 pages of the detail of the SEPA agreement, but this is just a summary of what are the main issues. So the main issues are the preferential market access, the rule of origin, which I'm going to explain, and obviously the sanitary and phytosanitary measures. In terms of trades in goods and services, in terms of trades in services, look at the general provision, looking at telecommunication and financial services. But there's an important component for the business community in India is about movement of people between the two countries, especially for Indian businesses who want to do business in Mauritius. And there's an annex on the financial services, and then also an annex on the opportunities in telecommunication, dispute settlement, and also institutional provision. What do we have in terms of trading goods? Mauritius have access from Indian products to almost 615 tariff lines where we can export, but also access into Mauritius. Indian can export about 310 tariff lines. So these are some of the opportunities that we have. They are very specific, and once we get it going, we can also extend this tariff line as much as we want to make it successful. Once it's successful, it is important that we get this tariff line extended for the mutual benefit. So these are the tariff line, which I'm going to go in detail, but it's much more in detail in the document itself, which I'm going to share later on. So we can have access to 650 tariff line, and we can import over 310 tariff line into Mauritius. But also in terms of preferential market access, there's some gradual tariff elimination from now until the 10 years to come. And also tariff reduction on some of the margin of preference of the product, and also tariff quota with tariff reduction. So as much as some of them have tariff elimination, some also have tariff reduction. So exporting to India, what we can do, so for those who wants to export, and the advantage is you can also have an Indian company who are producing these products in Mauritius, and they can also export back into India, benefiting from the SEPA agreement. So, for example, an Indian company wants to do flowers, agriculture in Mauritius, they can also export the same product back to India and having these preferential access. So in terms of agro-industry, you have sugar, you have canned tuna, we have flowers, fruits and food preparation, and pasta. And as I think you will see on the slide, the specific quantity and duty. For example, tin of tuna, it's zero duty, 7,000 tons, and 40,000 tons of sugar, specialized sugar and any sugar at 10% duty. In terms of alcoholic beverages, for those who want to import any products from Mauritius concerning alcoholic beverages, there's specification on beer, rum, and fruit wine, where the duty is only 25% as opposed to the heavy duty that you have when you have to import in, well, you have to export into India, which is in some cases over 100%. So we have 2 million liters of beer, we have 1.5 million liters of rum, and also 5,000 liters of fruit wine, and the duties are 50%, 50 and 25 for beer. And I think it's important for you to take note of that opportunity for those who want to import any of these products into India for distribution. In terms of medical device, Mauritius is a big exporter of catheter, which is produced here in Mauritius. And again, I propose and I recommend that companies who are doing these medical devices to come and set up their businesses here, so you can produce and export back into India, but also in Africa and other parts of the world where we have trade agreement. And also in terms of export, we have soap, detergent, and textile product, which is about 7.5 million pieces of duty-free manufactured from Indian yarn. So for those who are exporting cotton from India into Mauritius and they are being used, we can export 7.5 million back to India duty-free. And also 2.5 million from a third country yarn fabric. So if you're importing from Mali or China, this is 2.5 million as one of the conditions. So I think these are some of the opportunities for any traders who want to import from Mauritius. And exporting to India, the preferential, again, is about, there's preferential market access on medication, leather product, wood product, plastic, and paint and varnishes. Now, let me just quickly move on to importing from India. For merchant companies now who are listening to me, if they were to import products from India, so we have in terms of agro-industry, we have sugar, which is 5,000 tons at 40% duty. Black tea, which we are a great consumer of black tea, we have 15 tons at 15%, and also on spices, we have an opportunity there. In terms of alcoholic beverage, we can import rum and wine. Soap is also a possibility to import from India. Plastic tubes and pipes, whether it's for water pipes and other pipe tubes, can be imported. Iron and steel product, which Mauritius is a great consumer of these products, especially in terms of the industrialization and a lot of major infrastructure project which is going on the island, including the Metro Express, of which Larsen & Toubro is doing the Metro Express in Mauritius, and also in terms of furniture. So these are some of the opportunities for us to import from India. And in terms of tariff rate allocation, how does it happen? I think one of the questions you will ask me, obviously, yes, we have this tariff quota, but how do we make it happen? I think if you were, for those who want to export into India, there's application of quota to be made from the Custom Authority, which is the Mauritius Revenue Authority Custom. Invitation for application will be public, and also committee will be chaired by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, comprising of private and public sector representative, and all quota will be allocated and will be published on the MRA website for transparency. So we're not going to favor anyone, but those who are interested will have to make this application. And again, through the HICOM and through MCCI, we can assist you in getting, and also through EDB to assist you to get these permits allocated and also agreed upon. And for those who want to import from India, so for merchant companies who want to import from India, there's a preferential access given to merchant products accompanied by SEPA certificate of origin. So the Indian authority will provide this certificate, and it will be granted on a first-come, first-served basis based on the time and date of validation of the bill of entry submitted for home consumption, and that will be managed by the Mauritian Custom Authority. So some of the procedures of how do we make it happen. I'm not going to go into the detail of this, but you will get it clearly in the document. There are some issues of rule of origin in terms of product-specific rule of origin. There's also the issue of origin criteria, whether it was wholly obtained or whether it was obtained from a third party. There is some sufficient value addition that needs to be done, and this is based on a formula, which is FOB minus the CIF divided by FOB. And that, if you satisfy that criteria, you should be able to either import and export between the two countries. There's also the issue of minimal operation, which is excluded. So you can't just bring a product, do some minimal operation, and pass that as a specific product that is made in Mauritius for export. And also there are different rules of origin for garments, and the SEPA application is also important. So rapidly, and trades of services, we have the four modes of supply in terms of cross-border, in terms of tourism and ship repairs, in terms of setting of branches, and also in terms of consultancy because of the temporary movement of natural person. The SEPA structure, also in terms of services, look at the definition, the scope, the coverage, the market access, the regulation, the movement of business people, the financial services, which has been highlighted, and also commitment for the financial sector and dispute resolution. Rapidly, I think there's an important area which you have to take note of, is the area of movement of natural person. So in the Article 5, business visitors from India will have a 2-year multiple entry immigration visa at the rate of 120 days in the calendar years, and staying during the trip not exceeding 90 days. I think I will share that with you. And 5 years multiple entry immigration visa with 180 days stipulation on single visa into India. And also visa to visitors will be granted temporary as long as you provide proof of nationality and doesn't receive any remuneration from a third party granting visa. In terms of financial services, which I think we have a lot in common, in terms of recognition that both countries can adopt measures to protect investors, the use of the ensure integrity of the financial system, and we are happy to inform you that Mauritius now is clear from the FATF grey list and the UK list also. In terms of regulation, all rules should be transparent and made publicly available is also important. I think on the telecommunication, I'm going to go quickly for the interest of time. I think the article provides different provisions, including access to public communication, interconnectivity, portability, competitive safeguard, transparency, international roaming. There's a lot of opportunities for Indian companies to bring their staff, create a lot of software that can be exported in the region and using the FTA. In terms of commitment, there are areas in terms of business services, construction and engineering, distribution services, educational services, environmental services, banking and financial, health-related services, tourism, recreation and transport are some of the commitment that is ongoing for us to look into that. I think before I end, I think we already have a structure in place, which is the joint public-private sector between the joint private sector, which is the joint India-Mauritius Business Council, which we need to lobby. We have recommended through the HICOM in Mauritius and also the HICOM in India to have a joint public-private sector roadmap, so we can iron out all the different issues. But also from our level, I think it's important for those who are listening to me, government has done its part. I think it's up to the private sector to consolidate the relation and look at the different opportunities. So I'm going to stop here, and the rest are just some of the opportunities that we have. So any Indian companies who want to export into China through Mauritius will have same access, same opportunities, as much as those who want to export in the COMESA, SADC and Africa Trade Continual Agreement. The slides which follows, which I'll request to share with other members, highlights all the different opportunities between China, between Africa, between UK, Turkey, and this is what we have. And the rest, I think I'll leave it for the advantages from EDB. On this note, gentlemen and ladies, I'd like to thank you for your time, and my apologies for not being present. I think it's the beginning of a long road for us, but the future, I think, is bright. And I think it's up to us as private sector to connect our minds, to connect ourselves, and certainly through dialogue and this sort of event that we can make it happen. Thank you, namaste, and have a great day.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ismail, for that very detailed presentation on the business opportunities of SEPA and its intricate and detailed uh, rules. We have with us here representing the Economic Development Board of Mauritius, Mr. Shakil Jalum. He has a presentation on the investment opportunities. May I request Mr. Jalum to be on stage and his presentation on the screen, please. Mr. Jalum.
A few words before I start. Mr. Ghosh.
A little quick.
Yes. Mr. Ghosh, Mr. Ganpati, Mr. Gupta, Mr. Kane, Dr. Ismail, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning on behalf of EDB Mauritius. I wish to thank FICCI and MCCI for giving the EDB the opportunity to be present in this forum this morning. Indeed, it is a very unique opportunity to showcase ways and means to tap into investment and trade opportunities, especially in the margin of SECPA. Indeed, as Mr. Kane and Dr. Ismail highlighted earlier, Mauritius is a very small market. However, it is important to consider regional trade opportunities being offered through Mauritius. In fact, Mauritius positions itself as a natural gateway to the African continent through the various trade agreements which have been signed over the years. Apart from trade and manufacturing opportunities, it is worth highlighting that Mauritius also positioned itself as an international financial center, promoting a plethora of financial services and products. I totally concur with the recommendations and proposals of both Mr. Kane and Dr. Ismail. SECPA will definitely help to consolidate the ongoing economic partnership between Mauritius and India, and will provide both Mauritian and Indian businesses opportunity to thrive and increase their footprint in the region and the Indian Ocean region, African region, and beyond. So with these words, I will start my presentation to showcase trade and investment opportunities in Mauritius. Next slide, please. So to start with, I'll speak a little bit about EDB, the Economic Development Board, which has been in operation since 2018, following a merger between the Board of Investment, the Enterprise Mauritius, and the Financial Services Promotion Authority. So Mauritius is, EDB Mauritius, the mandate of EDB Mauritius is about strategic economic planning. So this is one of our mandates, trade and investment promotion, business facilitation, and country branding. In fact, the EDB has been mandated by the Prime Minister's Office to operationalize and man the Mauritius Pavilion at Expo 2020, which is also contributing in promoting Mauritius, the image of Mauritius, the perception about Mauritius at Expo in the GCC region and around the world. Next slide, please. So Mauritius at a glance, as Dr. Ismail highlighted earlier, our population is 1.3 million. We have a real GDP growth rate of 5.4% in 2021. We also have, sorry.
People are not able to hear you virtually.
It's better now? Yes. So I'm starting on this slide. Mauritius at a glance. We have a population of 1.3 million. We achieved a real GDP growth rate of 5.4% in 2021. We have a landmass of 2,000 square kilometers, but an exclusive economic zone of 2.3 million square kilometers, which extends up to the Seychelles, for example. Also, we have 46 DTAAs and 28 IPPAs with various countries. We have a literacy rate of 92.7%, which makes us one of the countries with the highest literacy rates in Africa. And we speak both French and English fluently. Next slide, please. So this graph shows the evolution of the economic landscape in Mauritius since the late 1970s up to now, let's say. So we emerged from a monocrop economy in the 1970s from the cultivation of sugar to a more diversified economy in the 2000. So in the years 2000, we made a big leap towards the financial services sector. Before that, there were textile and tourism, which also contributed to the economy. And now we are moving towards a more diversified economy with the services sector, the ICT BPO, the financial services sector. And I will explain a little bit later the other sectors which we want to develop in the years to come. Next slide, please. So why Mauritius? Well, we'll come to it again a little bit later. So we have a conducive business environment. So we have political and economical stability, a robust infrastructural landscape, and a competitive sectoral advantage through the incentives being offered and the opportunities which we are offering. Next slide, please. Next. Yes, so this is a snapshot of our economic base. So as you see, we move from a monocrop economy to a very diversified one. The manufacturing sector being the largest contributor to the economic landscape with 12.5%. And also the financial services sector now being the second most important contributor to the economy. We also have other new sectors that we are promoting, like the knowledge hub, Mauritius to be positioned as a knowledge hub, life sciences and healthcare, ICT BPO, the creative industries with film production, agro-industry as well. And as you see also, tourism is a very important contributor to our economy. So it remains one of the pillars of our economy. Next slide, please. This slide is about our international accolades. So as you will see, we position ourselves first in Africa in a number of indices, among which the World Bank Ease of Doing Business, also the Global Competitiveness Index, which are the most known ones. So we have a very competitive and attractive business climate for businesses and investors, potential investors to consider. Next slide, please. Now we will talk a little bit about the Mauritius Advantage. So the first on the left, you will see that the incorporation of a company can be done within 2 hours with no minimum capital requirement, 100% foreign ownership, also no foreign exchange controls. The tax regime, we have a favorable tax regime with a flat 15% tax for corporate businesses, personal tax and VAT, which are all aligned at 15%. Exporters, on the other side, manufacturers exporting their products to the international market are taxed at 3% only. So this is a very important aspect to be considering. No capital gains taxed, free repatriation of profits and dividends, no estate duty, also partial exemption of 80% on global business. Regarding the infrastructure, we have high bandwidth with connectivity with Europe, Asia, and Africa through the various optical fiber cables which are connected through Mauritius. State-of-the-art telecommunications and connectivity, well-developed infrastructure, ongoing roadworks being carried on in Mauritius to improve circulation and traffic. Also, there's on the far right, you will see that about the workforce, there's highly qualified professionals, a multilingual workforce, as I highlighted earlier, and education at the key of the Mauritian youth. Next slide, please. So I will go quickly through this part, which has been already covered by Dr. Ismail. It shows the number of trade agreements that Mauritius has signed over the years, including the SECPA recently, and the EFCFTA with continental Africa, which will cover more than 54 countries. And also the FTA with China. We have an economic partnership agreement with Europe and the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, which has been in place for some time already. So the preferential market access would cover more than 70% of the world population, as it was highlighted in the presentation of Dr. Ismail earlier as well. Next slide, please. Next one. So Mauritius offers a series of infrastructural facilities that help trading and businesses to thrive. So we have a reliable and logistics platform with a free port, a well-maintained road network, an efficient port with deep water quays now, also an international airport with connectivity to the world. So these aspects also help businesses and businessmen to consider Mauritius as a gateway, as a hub for their businesses. Next slide, please. Thanks. This I explained earlier, so we are connected to the world through the safe Lion and Mars cables already, fiber optic cables for internet connectivity and communications. Two other future connections are envisaged, which are the Metis and IOX cables, which should be implemented very soon. Next. So this slide shows the investment framework with gross fixed capital formation in rupees. So FDI grew at a steady pace until 2020 with the advent of the pandemic. However, we are expecting the FDI figures to rebound in 2021 with approximately 89 billion rupees expected in 2021. So it's on track. So we are doing everything since the opening of the economy this year to reach this objective. Next slide, please. So as highlighted by the Dr. Ismail a little bit earlier, Mauritius, we want to position Mauritius as a gateway to Africa. So through various means, through the trade agreements, but also through the Mauritius International Financial Center. So it has a prominent role in driving investment to Africa. You will see that already $92 billion of investment mediated through Mauritius. And also there are foreign investment routed from Mauritius into Africa supports nearly 42 million jobs in Africa, representing 0.6% of overall employment in Africa. So also there is the bilateral agreements as a tool for promoting trade and investment. This we are already gone through, so we are working hard towards it, and we hope to reach our objectives through the signature of more DTAs and more IPVAs in the future. Next slide, please. So this is the development, the new development strategy that that has been in place since 2018 through the operationalization of the EDB. So we are moving towards high-tech manufacturing for better for better how can I say that for productive sectors, more productive sectors. So these are the sectors that we are promoting at the level of the EDB to further consolidate the current manufacturing base. So pharmaceuticals, medical devices, ICT, even agriculture, smart vertical farming are the sectors on which we are focusing to further consolidate and diversify the economic base of Mauritius. Next slide, please. So we are also promoting the Fintech sector. So we are working on the regulations right now to implement and launch the Fintech sector in Mauritius. For now, we have a regulatory sandbox license, which is issued by the EDB. It caters for innovative projects in the absence of regulatory framework. For now, the Fintech sector falls under this license, but we are working towards more regulated activity to promote this sector in the years to come. Next slide, please. This slide presents the financial sector of Mauritius, the various services and the various products being offered. So we see that the banking sector, there are 20 domestic and international banks, stock exchanges, there are 200 and more listed securities, service providers, there are more than 100, there are 182 management companies, 51 law firms in operation in Mauritius. Also, the insurance business have 40 businesses and contributes to 2.6% of the GDP contribution. So you will see that it's a very diversified ecosystem, and the EDB is working towards the development of other products and other segments of the financial services industry to further consolidate and make it thrive. Next slide, please. So this slide provides a glimpse, a snapshot of the financial services sector. So 188 management companies, 12,493 GBCs as of June 2020, global businesses, over 15,000 people employed, 1,052 global funds, GDP contribution 11.8%. So it gives a glimpse of how structured and how the contribution of the sector in Mauritius and where it is heading. Next slide, please. So we will end with this part, which is about working and living in Mauritius. Next slide, please. As you will see, several schemes are being offered by the EDB. So we have an occupation permit, which is a work and live permit. Which initially applied for 3 years. It has been extended to 10 years now. So it applies to investors, self-employed, and also retired citizens, whereby for investors, for example, if you invest in an activity to the extent of 50,000 USD, you are eligible to apply for an occupation permit, which allows you to work and live in Mauritius for a period of 10 years. So I'll just go quickly on this one because I think time is running. There is Next slide, please. Can you come back on the previous one? Thank you. So yes, there is also the residence permit under the property development scheme, which allows a foreigner to buy a property in Mauritius to the extent of 375,000 USD. While doing so, he is eligible to get a permanent residence permit, which is linked to the property, and work and live in Mauritius for a long period of time, as long as he's the owner, he owns the property. The permanent residence permit also has been extended from 10 years to 20 years now. Also, there is the residence permit, retired residence permit, which has been extended from 3 years to 10 years. And also there is the acquisition of property for a ground plus two. A foreigner is allowed to purchase a property in a ground plus two building. And this gives him the right to live in Mauritius and work in Mauritius for without any limit in the time. Next slide, please. So this ends the presentation, my presentation, Mr. Ghosh. I think this ends my presentation, and I will invite you to ask questions about what has been presented, and I remain available with my colleague here to give you some aspects and some replies to any queries you have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shakil. Now we move on to the presentation on opportunities of doing business with India. We have with us Mr. Paritosh Gupta, who is a senior member of our FICCI Africa Council and CEO of the Kukuza Project Development Corporation, which has its headquarters now in Mauritius. May I have the presentation of Mr. Paritosh Gupta? Paritosh ji.
Thank you. Thank you, Gautam. Respected dignitaries on the dais, my distinguished fellow panelists, thank you to FICCI for inviting me, for being part of this very, very important session, and for organizing this seminar with MCCI. I think it's a great time. It's a great effort made by all of us. It's a great effort by Government of India and Government of Mauritius for having resolved the CESPA treaty. And I think now it's an open highway where I think Indian businesses, especially the large, medium businesses, to really look at Mauritius as a gateway to Africa. A lot has been talked about, Mauritius services, manufacturing, tax benefit, and CESPA related issues. My presentation and my focus will continue to be completely on infrastructure development, which I called enabling economic infrastructure in Mauritius for allowing large, medium, and small companies in India and their foreign partners to really set up base and use this great opportunity of developing their bases out of Mauritius and doing trade across Africa. And I think that has been presented in a very comprehensive manner. I run a company, which I will tell you in detail in my presentation, which is a Mauritian company. We are trying to create a key bridge between large and medium Indian companies looking at Mauritius as a gateway to Africa and actually hand-holding them right from start to finish. We are not consultants, we are project developers, and we handhold the creation of an economic infrastructure in Mauritius and hand-holding Indian companies, taking them through the regulatory framework, taking them through whatever needs to be done with the Economic Development Board of Mauritius, and looking at how we help them set up and help them across, getting all kinds of approvals over a period of time till they are fully grounded and look at starting their operations. Our focus is completely on creating enabling infrastructure as economic zones, parks, and also gateway projects, like as Mauritius is trying to do with the expansion of their airport, expansion of their port, and looking at how to create capacity in the infrastructure in Mauritius, which can then attract the right kind of investment, talent, and corporate partnerships to develop this on a long-term basis. We have a very deep understanding of economic infrastructure creation in India, and me and my team have tremendous experience, which must be multiplied into decades of the kind of experience we bring on, seeing economic infrastructure created in the last 30 years in India, hand-holding the Indian companies, Indian infrastructure investors, Indian EPC companies or foreign companies to look at developing this key infrastructure in a partnership framework with Government of Mauritius, following the entire protocol of transparency, procurement, and financing for this infrastructure in Mauritius. So I would now request Fiki to please load my presentation and the opportunities which you have identified in creating this enabling economic infrastructure. We've been in active conversation with Landscope, with the Mauritius. We are already partners to the Government of Mauritius on the Mauritius Africa Fund, which the Indian Deputy High Commissioner had listed out, where we are working across 5 countries with Government of Mauritius, and also working with the Mauritius Finance Department and the Economic Development Board and the Mauritius Africa Fund to see if we can help them create a $1 billion investment fund, which can then fund a lot of these activities which we are talking about. Gautam, please, kindly enable me to start my presentation and move on to the next slide.
Share Paritoshji, the next slide, please.
So what we are really saying is that Mauritius and India share a special relationship, and I think a lot has been covered under what the kind of partnerships Mauritius has with SADC, COMESA, and the opportunities which they are opening up because of the AFCTA being signed across Africa. Please, next slide, please. I've made a very, very focused, slide on presenting of what we are aware of Mauritius is trying to do. The Government of Mauritius has already announced these projects like the development of the Pharma City, upgradation of the Mauritius port, development of the technology park, which we are also requesting the Government of Mauritius to look at also developing an Africa center there on lines of what we have the India Habitat Center in India. And a concept note has been submitted to Government of Mauritius in that regard. We will bring in the private capital, the private partnerships in a framework which Mauritius government approves. And we are hand-holding Indian businesses to come and set up this as a gateway to Africa. Last week, I was with the Mauritius High Commissioner in Delhi, where we took a very reputed Indian corporate, which is running a very, very reputed Indian university in southern India, has over 25 to 30,000 students, are very keen to set up a hospital, a medical college, and a nursing institute in Mauritius, and we are trying to help them find the right kind of an opportunity to work and set up this to target African countries and act as a bridge between India and Mauritius. We are also mandated by Government of Mauritius to develop an entire international retirement city. We've got very, very exciting expressions of interest, one from Saudi Arabia, one from a Canadian company, which is very reputed and has global operations, is also willing to invest, and we are taking it forward. We are also working very closely with Engineers India Limited, the Mangalore Refinery, and the Indian Oil Corporation, which was very keen to set up a tank farm in Mauritius to use that as a base for exporting oil, not only to Mauritius, but also to large amount of countries in Southern Africa. We are also trying to closely work with the Mauritius Landscope to look at how we can, help them create a hippodrome. We are also partners with the Mauritius Africa Fund, and we are now taking and working closely with African Development Bank, Africa Finance Corporation, Afri-Exim Bank, and Exim Bank of India to see how this $1 billion fund can be created, which can be anchored by the government of Mauritius. But this fund can leverage a lot of PPP partnerships to be brought into all the above companies. So when we are talking about a pharma city, I must tell you, we developed the Hyderabad Pharma City in my past organization. We developed the Vishakhapatnam Pharma City, where there are over 2,000 companies, which are all very keen to come and do bulk drugs in Mauritius, do medical equipment, vaccines, and I think Trident had listed out testing on vaccines. So we have access to these partnerships, and we are looking at a framework how we can work more closely with Landscope. And I had conversation with the Mauritian High Commissioner in Delhi, seeing how we can engage in a professional and in a transparent manner to enable these companies to come to Mauritius, bring their partnerships, and help Mauritius develop this at the earliest, because I understand the challenge and the distress which has been created because of COVID in the last 2 years in Mauritius. We are also looking at how we can bring in, there are a large number of media companies, tech companies, data center companies in India, which are very keen to engage on the Kodior Technology Park. And I think Kodior Technology Park, we can work with Landscope, which has already planned this park, to get these companies to work on a framework which is acceptable the way Mahindras have developed the technology park in India, in Jaipur, in Chennai, and the several other technology parks being created where Infosys, Wipro, TCS, and other large companies, Mahindra, Tech Mahindra. So we are actually engaged with them, and we really want to now, since travel is opening between Mauritius and India, I think we will get these companies to come and make their presentations, and we will like to work with a strategic positioning with Landscope of how to enable these companies to set up. Based on our shareholding, we have access to very large amount of funds, both from private sources and from institutional sources, both which we can be enabled on, if government of Mauritius wants to, raise these funds with these institutions, we can help them reach out to the right decision makers in these institutions. Basically, we want to play the role of an accelerator. And because of the shareholding of my company, you will see we are 100% owned by institutions. I think we can be trusted as partners. And I would again like to emphasize that we are a Mauritian company. We are not an Indian company. We are a Mauritian company owned by very large investors, both Indian and foreign. Next slide, please. So we are a company which has been set up by the African Development Bank, the Export-Import Bank of India, the State Bank of India, which also has a presence of having a subsidiary there called it's State Bank of India Mauritius. And RSBG is a $18 billion euro pension fund out of Germany, which is looking at investing German capital and German technical skills through GIZ, through DEG, KFW into Africa using, and we can work closely with them to use Mauritius as a gateway to Africa. They are already looking at West Africa and North Africa in the 12 Compact for Africa countries, which Chancellor Angela Merkel had decided in 2014 when she was heading G20. So we have very deep links with them through our shareholders, and we are very keen to engage UK capital, German capital, European capital, French capital, and Japanese capital to be used and housed out of Mauritius, because Mauritius has tremendous ease of doing business, is a very respected investor into Africa, and I think those have been covered in the earlier presentations of EDB and others. Our mandate is to conceive, promote, advise, develop, and operate infrastructure projects. And I think our role is right from handholding, and we typically have an engagement which lasts from 5 to 7 years until those assets are completely grounded and financed. Next slide, please. So this is the framework which we follow. We develop the project. We look at policy and regulatory compliance, where we talked about procurement policies of Government of Mauritius and complete transparency. We structure the project. We get financing for the project. We handhold during project implementation as project management consultants, lenders, engineers, or whatever role which is desired through strategic partners which are very reputed. And we also look at fund syndication if so required. And each one of these activities is not necessary that you need to engage us for all these activities. We are in constant dialogue with various institutions in Government of Mauritius, and we deal with large number of institutions in India, both financial, manufacturing, infrastructure companies, and we deal with the largest Indian corporates, Tatas, Birlas, Mahindras. Public sector, RITES is our partner, EIL is our partner. We deal with large Indian corporates, both in public and private sector, because of our strategic positioning and because of the nature of ownership of my company. Next slide, please. And with that, I'd like to thank everyone for being patient, listening to me. We have a very compact team, a very focused boutique team out of Mauritius, sitting with Mauritius, dealing with international and domestic investors, dealing with Indian investors in Indian companies. And that is where I bring in the role that we want to create a bridge, a seamless bridge, working as a private entity, owned by very large Indian and multilateral and multinational corporates, looking at how we can create the right kind of partnership frameworks between companies, global companies, companies out of India, companies in Mauritius, and completely aware about the protocol. We've been in Mauritius since 2017. We understand Mauritius, and I must tell you, and I must really tell each and every participant that Mauritius is a great destination to do business with. They're extremely friendly, they're extremely transparent, and I think very, very respected structures which they have. I would like to thank Ficky once again for giving me this opportunity to speak. And I would individually reach out to people who would like to, and I will have Gautam circulate my personal email and my mobile number. And we have a very large team of partners and advisors working with us. And thank you very much once again. I would be open for any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Paritoshji. This was a fantastic presentation, and I think what you gave was just a very brief, snapshot into how Indian corporates are already moving with the support of Kukuza Project Development Corporation into Mauritius and thereafter into the African continent. Thank you once again, Paritoshji. May I also mention that with the knowledge and support of Paritoshji, we are also in discussion with our central government on a concept of Africa Growth Fund, which is in the process of discussion stage till now. With that, we are moving on to the question answer session. I would request if anyone here physically present or virtually would like to place any questions to our presenters today. And if you could kindly be very brief with a small introduction. Any questions, please?
I think there was one question from Mr. Gobind Ram Nawaz, and he had requested, as regards to alcoholic beverages, can we have more clarification about the state tax?
Dr. Ismail, would you like to take that question?
Thank you, Alok. I think the question is about what are the state tax that we have into India. I think in some are 100% to enter India, and then each state have their own specific tax. Some are 50%, some are 75%, and if you were to add some of the taxes, it can be up to 200%. By the time you leave Mauritius, by the time it enters, you have the excise and state tax. So a product leaving here at 100 rupees can end up reaching a specific state, and the price would be over 400 rupees if you were to take out all the combined tax. Each state have you have the excise, and each state have their own specific state tax, which make it very expensive for merchant people to export alcoholic product into India. But with the harmonization of the taxes, which 25% and 50% at least, that has been curtailed to a very small amount, which make it very competitive now to export into India.
Any other question, please? Any comment, any clarification from any of the participants? Well, if there are no more questions, we move on to request Dr. Yusuf Ismail, the Secretary General of MCCI, to give his brief concluding remarks. Dr. Yusuf Ismail.
Thank you to all of you present physically and also present online. I think it's an important meeting that we had today. And also on behalf of my chairman who could not attend, Mr. Guillaume Huguenet was intended to attend this conference. He couldn't make it today. So apologies from our chairman of MCCI, Mr. Guillaume Huguenet. First of all, I think, like I said to you, the important aspect is government have done its job in terms of getting this SEPA signed and agreed and effective from 1st of April. What needs to happen now is a series of sensitization campaign between all parties, especially when it comes to the private sector delegation, to go through the document, look at areas of focus because it's a big document and we cannot do all of it in one day. I think it's important that we have a working group. So one of the takeaways today is to have a working group with FICCI and MCCI and EDB to look at the different opportunities and bring each members on board to look at how do we at least get a couple of products, some quick wins into either into India and also into Mauritius, but working together to look at all the different issues that we have. But most importantly, I think, like I said to you, connecting the two groups together is important. And it's important to also look at the aspect of the regional ecosystem that we have with the other trade agreements. Let me give you a simple example. If you were to get cashew nut, which is a big production, one of the biggest producing countries in Africa is Mozambique, of which the cashew nuts goes into India for processing and then exported to China or back to Africa or into Europe. What you can also do is to get the cashew nut, come to Mauritius, semi-processed, and then you can export it through here into China, duty-free and quota-free. So these are some of the models that is going to work. I'll take another example in terms of mineral, either diamonds from Africa or some other minerals that you have, or some gemstones. They can do some pot polishing into the African continent, come to Mauritius, get assembled, branded, and then exported to China or to India, duty-free and quota-free, and back to the other countries in Africa and to Turkey. These are some of the models that we have. I think as a concluding remark, it was good to have this session, and I hope it is not the last session that we are having. We need to have a clear roadmap, as has been suggested by the Deputy High Com, Janesh, and we need to get it going forward. On this note, I know it's lunchtime. We've been a bit behind time. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank, first of all, the Deputy High Commissioner, Mr. Shakil Jolim, who is the Director of the Pavilion, Mr. Paritosh Gupta from FICCI, Mr. Ganapati Ramacharan, Mr. Gautam Ghosh, and all those who has attended this session virtually and physically, and also on behalf of my chairman and all the board members of MCCI, and all those who have organized this session to make it a success. I wish you well, keep safe, and let's the work begin now in getting the operators to talk, to discuss, to brainstorm. And my final message is, let's keep in mind the theme, which is connecting minds, creating our future. Our destiny is in our own hands in terms of trade, and it's only up to us to make it happen. And I'm sure we will be able to make it happen. Thank you, namaste, and have a great Dubai Expo and a great stay in Dubai. Thank you. And good afternoon. And namaste.
Thank you, Dr. Yusuf. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ismail, and we from FICCI, we assure you our support and look forward to working with you and your team. Thank you very much. With this, we come to the conclusion of this program today. Thank you once again, all our participants, our speakers, and all who have supported us back from our headquarters in Delhi and Port Louis. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
May I request Mr. Ganapati and Mr. Jalum to just be here. Mr. Ganapati would like to present a token of remembrance of this particular occasion on behalf of India and FICCI to you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.